Hey, it's Drew Bentley with Learn Guitar with Drew. Today we're going to be taking a look at what the 4 types of triads are. I'm asked this question very frequently, maybe one of the most frequently asked questions from students, so I figured I'd do a lesson about how this works. And that little thing I did there at the beginning, I illustrated all 4 types of triads with that little jam there. So let's take a look at this, but first, thanks so much for checking out the video. All right, so there are 4 different types of triads. You may have heard of the major chord before and the minor chord before. I also played 2 other ones that may not be as familiar with you. There's something called a diminished chord. And then I played this augmented chord. So what are these chords, you ask? Well, let's talk about what they sound like first, maybe what emotions they sort of elicit. Let's take a look at what these triads feel like first, and then we can take a look at the theoretical aspect of it. There's this kids movie, which I don't want to name by name, but this little girl, she's 3 or 5 or something. She experiences basic childhood emotions. She experiences happiness and sadness and anger and disgust. But let's take disgust and make it anguish or like super hyper sadness. I don't think disgust really comes into play with a musical emotion. So we have the major chord, which is happy, and the minor chord, which is sad. And the augmented chord is sort of angry. It's just not settled. And the diminished chord is super sad. So I kind of think that these 4 triads do a good job of depicting basic emotions with music. And then beyond that, when we get into 7th chords, 9th chords, 11th chords, 13th chords, we talk about things like add 9, 6, and sus, or altered chords. These are just more adult-like emotions. And I have some kind of theoretical correlations with those as well, with emotions and how they differ from a childhood emotional state. That's for a different lesson. It's really interesting if you look at the way that your Crayola pack grows from 8 crayons to 16 to 32 to 64, etc., and how the blend of these emotions becomes more complex as you get older. Your chords become more complex as you develop with music as well. There's a great number of tunes and songs that are written with just these 4 emotions. The major chord is just absolutely everywhere, and so is the minor chord. The diminished and augmented chord are an interesting thing. They're very much kind of functional under the surface, and they also are used a lot of times in very popular songs. You just aren't aware you're hearing them. So let's take a look at how this works theoretically. We're going to use this piano voicing to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play my little finger on the 12th fret of the A string, which is an A note, and then I'm going to add the thirds of the triads, because triads are built on thirds. They are thirds, and that's the definition: root, third, fifth. And we're going to see how these are the same but different. So the diminished chord is the smallest of all. We have the root, the flat third, and the flat 5. So it looks like this. If I spread that out, you can see there's a 2 fret space and a 2 fret space to make that. So check this out. All I have to do is change the 5th a half step higher, and I'm going to land on the minor chord. Watch this. Whoa, that's cool. I changed 1 note to go from diminished to minor. I went from a flat 5 to a perfect 5th. Now what's even cooler is to go from minor to major. All I have to do is take the minor third and make it a major third. So here's the minor, here's the major. So you can see 1 note changed again from minor to major. Now let's continue on with this thought here. Now if I change the 5th on the major chord and raise that, I get the augmented chord. That's cool too. So to go from a major chord to an augmented chord, you sharp the 5th. So the 5th is different for the augmented and the diminished chord. on the major chord, it's a perfect fifth for both of them, but the third makes the difference. So this leads us to the idea that the third is the most important note of all of music. It's known as the Beatles change, or parallel movement in actual terminology with music theory. If I swap the third from major to minor, I'm going from a major chord to a minor chord. So you can see by this illustration, I just have to change one note for each one of these to go from the most spread out, which is the diminished chord, which is a minor third with another minor third over top of it. And I change the fifth from a flat five to a perfect fifth. Now I have a minor third and a major third. And then I change the third, I have a major third and a minor third. And then I change the fifth again, and I have a major third and a major third. So it goes two minor thirds for diminished, a minor third, major third for minor, a major third, minor third for major, and a major third and a major third for augmented. So it looks like this. If you're enjoying today's lesson on the 4 types of triads, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell for notifications for the next time I post a music theory video like this one. So I have a minor third stacked on top of a minor third for the diminished chord, a minor third stacked on top of a major third for the minor chord, a major third over top of a minor third for a major chord, and then a major third and a major third for the augmented chord. So as you can see, just one note changes for each one of those. You can also think of it this way: root, flat third, flat fifth for diminished, root, flat third, perfect fifth for minor, root, third, fifth for major, root, third, sharp five for augmented. So let's go back to the chord progression I was playing at the beginning of the video. I was just kind of goofing around with different chords in the key of A to illustrate all 4 of these different types of triads. So A is our 1 chord. It's an A major chord. The 6th chord of A major is F sharp minor. It's the relative minor. If you just count up alphabetically, you don't have to worry about sharps and flats, which is dependent upon the key signature that's in the circle of fifths. You can simply just go A, B, C, D, E, F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So F sharp, because there's 3 sharps in the key of A, F sharp happens to be one of those. So now we have F sharp minor is our 6th chord. The 7th note of the A major scale is G sharp. Again, there's 3 sharps in the key signature. That's a diminished chord in the key. And then the 5 chord is generally dominant. It would be a major chord as a triad, an E major chord. I made it an augmented chord because that's a pretty popular cadence to go and make the 5 chord augmented. You hear it all the time in blues songs. See, that would totally work with the blues if I did that. 1, 6, then the 7 chord, and then I did a 5 chord as an augmented chord. If you don't know how the chords in the key work, here's a lesson right here on the channel about how the triads work within the key structure. You can take a look at that and come back and watch this video. That might be helpful for you. All right, so that's a look at the 4 different types of triads. We have major, minor, the diminished, and the augmented. We talked about the different types of emotions you might feel when you hear these chords, and also how they work theoretically, how they compare to each other, and then also how we can kind of throw those into the situation where we're using those in a key, and we can illustrate some of the functions of how you use them. There's a whole lot of stuff you can do with diminished chords. It's an entirely different subject and study on its own. It's quite fascinating. Augmented chords are fascinating also. It ties in something called the Parker cycle for the diminished chords and something called the Coltrane cycle for the augmented chords. And there's like this Miles Davis stuff going on, and oh, it's crazy. All these cool diminished ideas and these tons of really cool Pat Martino things with diminished chords. It's super, super exciting. But for the moment, just know there's 4 different types of triads. And once you get these under your belt and you can use these in like a musical situation, then you can start to do some more research into playing more advanced chords, et cetera, et cetera. I would also recommend learning the CADE system. Here's a lesson on the channel for that right here. And that will help you to learn to use your triads across the entire guitar neck so that you can play these types of chords everywhere. All right, well, hopefully you had a lot of fun today. I definitely enjoyed talking about triads. It's one of my favorite subjects. And as always, I can't wait to see you at the next lesson.